Alright, I have my two crucibles here, and I have some of my starting materials. This is the sawdust, or the metal dust from cutting up the wrought iron. I have about 35 grams of that. So I'm going to put, let's see, 15, 16, 17 grams in each crucible. I'm just going to weigh it out on this just to start out with. Alright, maybe it was 1 gram from the bag. But that's fine, 15, 17. I'll just write those down. I'm writing down all the charges. So this will be 1, this will be 2, 15 grams, 17 grams of wrought filings. And for this first charge, some big pieces of wrought. It might be better to cut them up smaller, I don't know. But I have 487 grams. I'm putting in the wrought first, because it has the highest melting temperature. So hopefully that lasts, and the cast iron will melt first and cover it and prevent it from any oxygen and undesirables from getting on there. So let's tear that. And then I'll do try and get 487, about the same amount of cast iron for the charge, and then I'll leave the extra wrought iron in there to absorb some of the carbon. So 487-ish grams of cast. $490. Let's see that one. $489. $476. This one's the closest. Alright, $490. Just shook it around, trying to create some more space. Shove it down so it all sits down low. And then I'll fill the rest with glass. Well, let me do the second charge. Second charge is the 15 grams of wrought iron filings. $471. So one other thing, the last thing that I'm going to put into the crucible, this is going to be at the end, so after hopefully everything melts and all the reactions take place and it mixes well, I'll add 1 gram of aluminum to each crucible. And what I've read is that it helps deoxidize. So any oxygen that might be inside of the crucible or inside of the metal will react with these two, will react react with the aluminum to create aluminum oxide, and I hope that that will rise to the top, being less dense than the iron, and it won't be incorporated in the iron. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Anyone who's been who's done Wootz before or Crucible Steel, you can comment below and tell me how I'm ignorant, and I will then not be ignorant. I'm just gonna stick it on the end of this iron thing. Just gonna fold it over, and then shove it down through the glass, and hopefully that will deoxidize the steel and make it so that there's no bubbles and stuff inside of the ingot. Um, so I just need to add some glass and we'll be ready to go. So I got an old bottle of Suntory whiskey, and an old bottle of Elsa Blanca wine, and just gotta, let me take off the cap first. So the glass has started to melt. I don't know if you can see it well. So this is the first charge number 1. Its total weight was 994 grams plus 1 aluminum, and the ingot is 979, so lost about 15 grams. I don't know where that would go, but I'm gonna wait 30 more minutes and open up the second crucible and see what I get. So this is the ingot number 2, charge number 2. It had a total weight of 957, and now we have a weight of 933 grams. So that's a loss of 24 grams. But this one looks a lot more dendritic than the other one. I don't know if you can see this, but I'll have to try and get some pictures of it. It looks like the iron and the cast iron mixed a lot more. Here's a little section. I don't know how well it's going to show up because of the screen on the back of the camera. It's not that good. But but I think this is a better ingot than the first one. So here's the first one. I think I'm going to cut the first one in half and see if there's a chunk of wrought iron in it, because I don't think the wrought iron melted fully on the first try. I'm going to go do a spark test on this one and see what I get for the charge number 2. So here the crucibles are steel. I cut them open and etched them so I can see what's on the inside. As you can see, this is ingot number 1. It had an inclusion, probably the wrought iron. Didn't fully melt on this side, but a lot of it did melt, so I'm happy about that. I'm going to try and forge it out. I'm going to weld on a little piece of rebar right here and heat it up and soak it for a long time and then try and forge it. And if it doesn't forge, then I'll throw it back in the crucible with some mild steel. Right now I think the carbon content is about 1%. So if I add about half as much as iron or mild steel back in, it might lower the content to about 1%, and then the crucible will add a little bit. So I'm a little bit over half the amount of weight I have in this in crucible steel. I'll add in mild steel. This is the second crucible. It too had inclusions, but the inclusions were smaller. It had 2 inclusions. One was right around here. And you can see on the other side, right there and right there. The only cavities that were in the 2 ingots were right next to where the inclusions were. So hopefully, if next time I run it a little longer, all of these will heat up, melt, and there will be no porosity or inclusions or anything. I think this one's going to forge a little better than the first one, if they forge at all. But we'll have to find out in another video. Thanks for watching, guys. So here are the ingots after I tried to forge them. This is ingot number 2. It I thought it had a better chance of forging out. But once I was forging it, I saw that this piece over here was cooling down faster than the main body of it, so that I knew that this part was broken off, not connected at that point. So I tried to knock it off with the hammer, and in doing that I cracked it open fully. And on the inside it's very not porous, but I don't know how to describe it. Just like falling apart. And similarly on the first ingot, here it is. It was forging okay for a little bit, and then it just started to crack open. So I'm gonna throw these back in the crucibles, melt them down, and I'm gonna add some mild steel to them to bring down the carbon content. So hopefully make them a little more forgeable.